So, hello everyone, and welcome to the next Catributor podcast. LordZath, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, only if you insist. Hi guys, I'm LordZath. I'm a North American community contributor, and yeah, I've been playing this game since closed beta weekend, which is right after the alpha test and right before the closed beta.
Going back a ways, that's long ways.
Yeah, so everybody is probably expecting it, but today's topic will be about, let's call it, recent events.
Sure, and
yep.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, which all kinda started to get kicked off with the so-called summer event or summer sale, right? Basically what they did is they had huge doubloon packages, I think, on discount. And then they sold gambling crates with a chance to get a camo. They just forgot to tell everyone that it was only a chance.
Yes.
Yeah, this is what kicked off the latest round of miscommunication, and this time it appears it was a genuine one because of the way they had set up their translation chain. But that seems to have snowballed into a whole thing generally. But I think for a lot of people, like, this isn't stuff that's coming out of the blue. It's not one specific thing necessarily that's sparked dissatisfaction. So that's kind of where it started, and then now where we're at is however many DCs have decided to quit the program, including myself and Atam at this point.
Yeah.
But we're still Catributors.
Definitely.
What, Catributors, did you call that?
Yeah, that's the official name of the podcast. We're the community Catributors.
I noticed that. Okay.
We are slightly cat themed, so you're in the right place.
I mean, that's perfectly fine. As a matter of fact, there's my cat.
Perfect.
There we go.
See? Ready to go.
So, as you mentioned, Chennai, so basically it seems that Wargaming first translates their messages from Russian to English, and then they use the English as basis for all the other translations. So if there's an error in the first translation, then it just keeps getting passed down. And that's how we ended up with so many languages all having the same error. But that just shows me that there isn't enough, I guess, of a quality control or backups or whatever, right? They basically made an error that kind of violated the law. Like, they violated consumer protection laws by false advertising what the product is. And I feel like this isn't just, I mean, on the one hand, it's a human error, but on the other hand, if your error breaks the law, you might need better controls to stop exactly that from happening, right? Like the excuse, sorry, probably doesn't fly in front of a judge, so maybe it shouldn't fly in front of the community.
Yeah, I mean, it generally it's considered to be a bit of a no-no if you substantively change the description of, if the description you change is changing the nature of the product, then I'm pretty sure in quite a lot of countries that's considered to be, at least fine-worthy. And it's the sort of thing that you really want to get right and make sure you're not making a mistake with, but in this case, Wargaming didn't. It's kind of not the first time that this has happened, but I feel like it's not quite as bad as the whole thing we had with Makarovs and the preference list at last Christmas, when it was a deliberate decision to basically omit that on the assumption that people would just remember it from previous years. And of course, people won't necessarily have been around for previous years. And even if they did remember that bit of information from previous years, they might have assumed that it changed for this year, only it hadn't. So yeah, we kind of have a bit of a running history of these sorts of errors at Wargaming at this point. It's definitely not new. and it's just kind of more disappointing every time when it does happen again.
Yeah, you get the feeling you're like, all right, you've already told us this has happened. Why is it happening again? What are you doing that is enabling it to happen again, or what are you not doing that's enabling it to happen again? More specifically, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like they never share. Like what they say something like, "Yeah, we are going to improve communications," but they never detail a plan. They're like, "Okay, these are the steps that we've taken." There is absolutely no transparency. There's just some words. Yeah, it won't happen again, and then it happens exactly that again, and then they're like, "Yeah, but we will do better next time." It's like if they actually care about changing things, then why aren't they communicating anything that they are doing? Stop it from happening again.
Right. Right. And that's what you want to see, right? As a player, and I'm not even just talking about as a community contributor or somebody who's working with, wargaming in a closer level. Even as a player, what do I want to see? I want to see that the company is taking steps X, Y, and Z to make sure that ABC doesn't happen again. Right? I want to see if it's not necessarily money, it's assets, right? We're creating a team that's going to work through this, or we've added a step like you were talking about with the process of translation. We're adding a step in the process of translation. It is going to first go towards a team of English native speakers to read and vet and ask for their feedback, et cetera, et cetera. Then it moves on. Like something as simple as that would have been like, hey, cool, all right, like they're making this change. That's good.
Yeah, we definitely have, I think, as CCs collectively for a while, felt like sometimes the explanations we do get are not particularly convincing or sufficient or in detail. And sometimes there are reasons for that. These are people with other jobs other than just answering our questions all day long. But sometimes it's quite important stuff, and you do wonder how these same kinds of errors keep happening, because we get these promises that it's going to be better from now on, but then actions speak louder than words, and those promises are kind of rendered not particularly meaningful.
Right.
So we kind of end up where we are now, where everyone's just a bit frustrated, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's also important to keep in mind that a lot of the recent events that are going on that's happening over a weekend when people aren't supposed to be working, right? And also you mentioned trying to make a change. We all know that change sometimes can take time to implement, but at least tell us, right? This is what we want to happen. This is what we're trying to make happen. And here's the steps that we see are necessary to take, and this is what we're trying to do. At least give us that.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, then besides all that, since we've started with those crates, it's a very lazy or weird way, I feel like, to do a summer event. Like last year, we had like the amazing Atlanta camo or something where they like put effort into something, and I think that you could earn it, I think, right? With some mission change or something. And like this year, it's we just give you cheaper doubloons, and the thing about those camo crates, right? You aren't even getting a ship out of it. You're getting a camo out of it, maybe for a ship you don't even own. So, and it's only a chance. So you have a chance to get something that you might not even be able to use. Like that's just such a stupid system.
Well, it just means you have to go and buy the ship, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
It does definitely feel like they've gone out of the way to find. I won't call it low effort exactly, but it's basically remonetizing stuff that's already in the game through a different mechanic.
I think the hard part is that a lot of players, a lot of viewers on your channels, my channels, they don't necessarily know what we know about all of these different camos and all these different ships. Oh, I just saw a Kekko.
Yeah.
And as a result, like, the player base is like, well, what do I buy? What do I want? Hey, I just got this thing. is it any good? Should I be excited, right? And imagine their frustration when they find out no, they should not, because they got a camo for a tier 5 ship that they probably never ever going to buy, unless they get Santa crates and it's on the list, and they have no interest in having whatsoever anyways. And on top of that, isn't going to be as useful as a single use camo that they probably have thousands of at this point.
Yeah.
It also, and this is a bit of a tangent, but there's been certain people, I'm sure people in the community as well, have been pushing for a long time for there to be more utilization almost of camos and camo effects, and to have the ability to properly customize your ships in terms of what camos you want on it, and to have that be independent of the actual camo bonuses. And it's again another one of those areas where Wargaming has just been really kind of, well, we don't think people would want it and we know best, and just kind of dismissive generally.
Well, it takes a lot of resources for them to create that, and they just don't know that there's money there. We tell them that there is, but
yeah, that's the crazy part to me. Like, you look at how big customization is in other games, other free-to-play games. There are so many examples, and for some reason they just, I don't know, they don't see it. But
I mean,
if you had this summer event in that light, almost, where if you were getting the ability to get the look of certain camos and not worry about it being a perma camo or whatever, then it might be a bit better. But at that point, you would definitely have wanted it to be a guarantee of at least getting a camo out of it, and not just a chance.
Not just
I blew a bit of doubloons on like 5 boxes. I was saying this to Aitan before, and I got this camo for the Z31. Yeah.
And then you went to your port and you're like, I can't wait to mount it on this ship. Oh, I don't have it. Right?
Here's the sad thing, I actually do.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
But well, the thing is, I've still got a bunch of the CC, and this is kind of ties into what I was saying. I've got a bunch of the camos they gave us as being for being a CC, which gives you a really nice Captain XP bonus. So now all my ships are using those camos, and they all look the same. And I don't get to use any of the nice perma camos or any of the other colored camos, because they're not going to give me the bonuses to getting my captains back up to 21 points. So,
well, at some point you'll run out of those, and then you'll move to your next best.
Yes,
and then
that's definitely going to happen at this point.
Yeah, but whatever. It is what it is, right?
You know what's also sad? If they would focus more on like customization things and sell those, then they wouldn't need to keep flooding the game with so many new ships that they aren't like properly balancing, because they don't seem to have the time. There are some times when I almost feel like Wargaming operates under some quota, like somebody high in management said you need to make X amount of new ships per month or so, and they just try to rush out as much as possible. And if then there is something like in testing, oh yeah, there is like a camera bug for this ship, they're like, yeah, we'll still release it, right? There isn't oh yeah, we probably should fix that for release. They're like, no, bug, who cares, right? Just throw it out, sell it, then make a statement, oh, we are sorry that there is a bug there that we, they obviously knew, right? And then it's like, it's just so mind-boggling, right? Sometimes I can only feel like that somebody is putting pressure on them, like maybe high up in management, and they are just like really, I don't know, they can't handle the stress they are under, something.
Maybe. I mean, we can kind of speculate all day long about the internal workings, I suppose. We don't really know that much about it, other than tidbits we've gleaned here and there, or whatever we could infer from conversations with community people and devs and whatever. But yeah, they do seem very, very, very sales focused, and especially sales of loot bots focused, which is, I mean, to my mind, this is getting into one of the reasons why I stepped down as a CC. Is it really feels like they're prioritizing short-term profit over the long-term health of the game, and that doesn't bode well for the future at all.
No, we've definitely been noticing those kinds of changes, and it's been happening, I'd say, what would you guys think, over the past maybe year?
It's definitely intensified. I mean,
Yeah.
I can look back over the last, say, 3 years? I think it was about 3 years ago when they started seriously putting loot boxes. Or was it even longer than that?
Well,
I can't remember. They were kind of a latecomer to loot boxes. Like, loot
yeah.
boxes haven't always been around in World of Warships. And yeah, as they've just gotten more and more prevalent, it seems like they've become more and more
I mean, we've had the Christmas crates for a
singularly
long time,
focused on
but it
them.
used to be like just the Christmas crates. And early on, I felt like they were like in the first years when I did them, they were sort of decent value.
Yeah, like the first years were actually they were pretty good
Really good.
value. And yeah.
Well, and it's interesting because you compare that to what they had before the loot box system. Remember the Armada pack?
Hmm.
Remember the first time the Armada pack was sold? It was like, what, 350 US or something for every ship in the game, including the Tier 3 Katori, which was the only way that you could get that stupid Tier 3 ship. People
Yeah.
were people were screaming at Wargaming, right? Like, this is ridiculous,
Mm.
blah, blah, blah. But then some people who had been collecting for, years
Mm-hmm.
were excited because they said you'll get compensation in the form of doubloons for the ships that you already have. So some people threw down $350 and they got like, 300 back in value, in game value, at least in terms of doubloons. And that satiated those customers and they felt, somewhat good about it. But others still said, where are the deals for the people who can't afford to spend
yeah.
$300 at a bit? And I think that's where these Santa crates really caught on, is because now it's a marginal purchase as opposed to something that you come back to your wife about only when you've had a chance to butter her up and, right? Like,
Oh, honey, I bought a Napoli.
yeah.
You know,
So
you're bringing up the Napoli. Like back in the day, 350 bought you what? Like every premium in the game. Now it gets you 1.5 Napolis.
yeah, well, there were no premium tier 10s back then.
True.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's been like you can look back at stuff like that, like you say, there are people for whom that was a benefit, and whom these offers were kind of consciously pitched as quite a niche thing. But yeah, like even then, it is definitely you can see them playing on that whole fear of missing out factor, FOMO as it's called. And that's another thing that, I mean, they haven't been as bad as some other games, but it's still been a factor.
Well, and it doesn't help that you've got people that post screenshots. Look, I got the Johan de Witt on my
Yeah.
first pull,
I
or
mean,
like.
that's almost part of the point. That's kind of
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for those people
Yeah.
that do get lucky and that kind of
I did not, by the way. I had to do 70 pulls to get the Johan de whaleboat, and I mean, I had the doubloons to blow. I didn't care about that. I wanted the community to be able to see the process and to talk through if I
Yeah.
didn't have these doubloons, what I'd be going through as a person, as a player. And I really hoped that Wargaming saw that people saw that and said, maybe we went a little too far here.
yeah. 'Cause this has been another trend that's been going on, is this monetization of tech tree lines. Like, not only do they now have,
Yeah.
they always had perma camos, but now they're looking to capitalize on lines before they even come out. And again, there's the FOMO factor because they have, I think, since what's the first time they even did this? I can't even remember which line it would have been, but
French destroyer, Smogador, I think was the first.
maybe yeah, they throw in these special camos that you can only get if you're
Oh yeah.
pulling the lever on the slot machine to, open the loot boxes to, yeah. So yeah, it's problematic, very problematic, and they are, at a time when we've already got one country in Europe, Belgium and South Korea, having passed legislation, and other countries have been looking at legislation and issuing reports about the problems associated with this, and the kind of manipulative nature and how it's very damaging for some people. Wargaming is just kind of blazing away off in the wrong direction. And I did have one comment under I did a very sarcastic video not that long ago where I was like, yeah, I embrace our new loot box overlords even, and yeah, someone was wondering in the comments, like, well, maybe Wargaming is seeing the writing on the wall and they're just attempting to cash out as much as they can before inevitably in a couple of years
I almost
hopefully,
wonder.
these things happen. More laws get passed in more countries.
You never know, man. I mean, I almost wonder if part of it is there's there's so there's so many people that, like, I mean, like me playing a long time, I've got everything in the game. What's getting me to log back in and play? By the way, I'm working through my dailies right now. Just want to put that out there, because that's what that's what I do, right? And like, so for me, like, what's getting me to do something more than than just co-op, which right now I'm literally just sailing around in co-op. What brings me back to random battles? And I wonder if all of these increases in ships that they're selling for other currencies, like, steel and research points and coal, is targeted at those kinds of players to convince them to keep playing, to convince them to keep going, so that they can get that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, they've got that tier. And then on the other side, we've got the increase in new ship lines that we're seeing. I mean, guys, we haven't even had the full release of the Dutch cruisers yet.
Yeah.
And now we're testing Russian carriers, and we're also looking at the German battleships.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever experienced this before, where we're looking at not just the current line, but also the next line and the next line, all at the same damn time. That just blows my mind.
But the one problem is that Wargaming has basically removed the like tech ship grind in a way, because the way they are distributing tech ships over loot boxes where you can get literally the tier 9 directly, there is no longer content with, like, it used to be that they added a new line and that was content, right? You started maybe at tier 3 and then you went up to it, and maybe you had the free experience to skip the line. Some people did, but a lot of people, the new content was, there's a new line, there's something to look forward to. You play through the lower tiers again, right? You go up there again, you see all the different ships. But these days, it's just, they tried so hard to sell you and to gamble you on that, like directly on that tier 9. And then what, right? They gotta sell you the next product, because you don't have to grind anymore. You just have your tier 9. Then maybe you play that a few times. You have the experience for the tier 10 already when it's then released. And then what, right? So they took away a lot of the content, and now they're trying to, I don't know, make more ships to sell you so that you have content again, or I don't know.
Yeah, I that a while ago.
Explanation as to why they're pushing out, line after line, and yeah, that's one of the problems Little White Mouse was having, was just too much to keep up with, basically. And I know some of other CCs and former CCs are having that issue as well.
Oh yeah, this year has been probably the toughest for me as a content creator, and mind you, I'm also a super test coordinator, so I've got that stuff coming in too. But like, it's been the hardest year for me to keep everything straight and to understand, like, and get what's going on. I'll have players, that like are just correcting me, like, hey Zath, don't you know about this, or don't you know about that? And I literally I'm like, I heard about that someplace, but I don't remember where. And then, oh, it's on the dev blog, didn't you see it? It's right there, here's the link. And I'm like, oh. So it's just yeah, it's tough.
It is. I kind of, well, obviously myself and Atam was decided to leave, but it's anyone that's decided to stay, it's still tough for them as well, and yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky to know what the future holds for the CC program and for Warships generally at this point. I want to be hopeful. I do,
Right.
and I still do have a lot of fun playing the game. I don't know. Maybe this time next week when things have settled down a bit, we'll see. See how it's hard not to be all kind of, because it's all caught up in it at the moment. So everything's kind of full of emotions and whatever. But yeah.
I mean, a lot depends on how wargaming responds now to the current problems and the current CC walkout, basically. Because usually they always just go with oh yeah, we'll communicate better. But we've heard that so often, and they never announce concrete steps, and they never actually do or change anything. So I wonder if they'll just put their head in the sand and be yeah, so we'll do better, and then hope that it all goes away. And I mean, they now have the affiliate program where they just get more advertising just elsewhere. So maybe they care less about unhappy contributors, I don't know. Or ex-contributors, I should say. We will have to see. But they kind of feel like the way it's currently going, they have to change something. I also wonder, aren't subs coming into ranked battles next week? I'm sure that's gonna be another shitstorm because subs are nowhere near ready. They have nothing. They shouldn't be around in ranked battles.
The fact that we're gonna have 30 knot submarines is
yeah. It's just gonna be another disaster, I think, because it will. I wonder how it will hit the casual players or the players that aren't that up to date or that just log in, because I don't feel like they'll have a very good time with submarines.
What are you talking about, Adam? The World of Warships player base is very well informed about everything going on in the game. That's why you, myself, PointyHairedJedi, we're all here, right? As community contributors, and now you two leaving the program, but still up until this point, right? You guys were communicating everything with your community, and your community is everybody that plays the game. So they know everything that's going on. They're gonna log in, they're gonna be like, I'm ready for this. You're 100% right. They're going to log in, they're going to see this, and they're going to get pissed off. And then when the Missouri sale begins, they're going to log in, they're going to see how they can get it, and they're going to be pissed off again.
Why did nobody tell us this was coming? Oh, wait.
And you're like, I've been telling you, dude. Watch my stuff. But the problem is that there's all this stuff that's going on, and if we as community contributors are struggling to keep up with it, what does that say about the player base? What about the player that logs in once a week? What about the player that plays for a week and then takes a month or two off and then comes back? What the hell just happened? I had people in my clan who were basically came back after the commander respec and rework and said, what happened to all my captains? Because remember, they were auto respec to a specific cookie cutter build, and then if you didn't log during that patch cycle, you couldn't respec them at all for free. So these poor sods came in, and they're like, now I have to spend doubloons to fix all of these commanders. Oh, they were pissed.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something easily for if you have let's say you have been playing for a long time, you have 100 ships with 100 captains, and then you didn't play a short while during the captain rework. Suddenly you have to pay for 100 respecs because they are all probably half useless because of Wargaming's decision to give everyone a good build or something like that. I mean, that's it's shit ton of money to basically save Wargaming's mistake there, and not everybody could afford that even. So in a sense, Wargaming has almost ruined certain people's accounts with them.
Yes, 100%. And I really wish, as you guys know, we CCs at the time pushed and said, we got to have some sort of way to have a reset, just a blanket reset for all commanders, right? And they really didn't like doing that. I mean, it involves a lot of work on their end. I get it, right? But we helped push it through. We helped make that happen. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize. And of course, other players speaking out on the forums did their part too, right? This isn't just the CCs that did this, and I think we have to acknowledge that. But I really wish that Wargaming would have just made it set so that if you don't log into your account, or even if you did, you could tick a box, basically, so that it just blanket reset right before the next patch, and that's kind of like, this is your last chance, But oh well, they didn't. Maybe they didn't think about it. I didn't think about it.
Even if they just sent out an email.
Yeah, but
maybe anything else anymore.
But even if you send out an email, you don't know if you you are not going to read that email,
might
right?
not be using an actual address, or it might be an old address, or I mean, there's no perfect solution for something like that, other than to just reset everyone automatically, and but that might annoy people in its own way if you have a bunch of captains reset that you didn't necessarily want to be reset.
I mean, I feel like at the very least, like lots of you'd need something that at the end of the free respec period, or what they could do is they could just credit an account that hasn't logged in that time with a free respec or something. I feel like there are solutions if they had thought about this a bit more, but I don't think they mind if people have to spend money on fixing their Wargaming doesn't mind making money off other people's problems, let's put it like that.
Absolutely.
So we could maybe talk a bit more about the Missouri thing directly.
Oh, definitely, I suppose.
I mean, because that's been a big factor in a lot of CCs deciding to leave.
I feel so bad. I've been playing the Missouri in co-op just because I figured, well, if I'm going to do this, I might as well get the bonus credits out of it. And I'm running the special camo that comes with the Missouri. I feel so bad about it because I completely forgot. We got this so we could show it off to our communities and stuff. Hey, this is what you're going to be able to get. All that kind of shit, right? And here I am, just kind of, I guess, trolling people. Here's what I got. So I need to fix that. I just started another game. I'll have to fix that after this one. But someone pointed out to me earlier. They're like, why are you using that camo? You must have wailed hard for that. And I'm like, no. So, fail.
Yeah, I mean, when bringing back the Missouri in general, it was in a sense a nice move because it's a museum ship. It's something that a lot of people want. It's a historical ship. Yeah. People might have visited, have a connection to it. And originally it was very nice that they sold it for free experience. So it was something that you could grind for. It was a goal. It's nice to have something where you know that it's a very historical ship and you can just get it by play. Now they said originally they'd bring it back for the balloons. I think that was what they wrote in a dev blog. And back then I was like, yeah, okay, they're trying to make a quick buck. It's nice that they're bringing it back, but it would have been nice if it was for a free resource, right? Even if it's the research bureau, which I absolutely hate, at least it's something that you could technically just grind for, right? But I said, no, they're gonna be doubloons. And then suddenly it's like, oh yeah, but only gambling, right? You buy loot boxes with doubloons, and then you have a chance to get it. And as also I think some people without veterans might struggle more with something like gambling problems, and now they are having a ship that is probably marketed more towards I guess a lot of people who have a connection with it, maybe veterans, maybe people who are more interested in history and so on. It's just such a scummy move. It's
basically the worst possible solution that they could have picked in terms of having any respect for the player base.
When all this went down, I was so excited, right? I saw the news. And I did a Zath chat, which is kind of like a podcast, like what you guys are doing here, right? And I did a Zath chat all about the Missouri. And at the time, the question was, should Wargaming do this? And there were so many people that were yes, so many people that said no. And my response was, I don't really care. It's their game. They can do whatever they want with it. But I'm excited that players will have a chance to get it. And the one angle that I took that I don't think a lot of people thought about, is that there are players that spend thousands of dollars, one of which was one of my viewers, and he chimed in and shared exactly how much he had spent just to get the Missouri with the Santa crates, right? And so I was saying, this is great because those people don't have to spend that money anymore, right? Because they can go buy the Missouri for, and we all basically said it's going to be something ridiculous, right? $250 or something, right? Like twice of what it was originally, just because they can. But the people that would normally spend thousands of dollars on it, this is a deal for them, right? So it saves them from doing that. And I feel bad because I almost wonder if somebody from Wargaming watched my Zath chat and said, "Oh shit, Zath's right." It's like,
Well,
we can't have.
that's an interesting point. That in a way they've already kind of been doing this with the Christmas boxes. If you wanted
Yes.
Missouri, it's not even particularly new behavior in that regard. It's just this time it's so solely focused on the Missouri.
Right, and that's what bothers me.
What's boggled my mind is the kind of insistence that they would have to, like, they've got to do it special somehow. They've got to charge more, but they've nerfed it. It's not that same credit printing machine it was before. So why do they feel that they'd be justified in charging more for something that isn't that doesn't have that special quality to it? There's no anything that justifies that other than we think we can squeeze more money out of people. At least to me,
So I've had this conversation with my viewers a few times. We talked about money and purchasing stuff, especially when it came to the Johann de Whaleboat issue. And before I even opened up my what do they call them, random bundles, before I even started doing that, I talked to people and I said, look, everything is worth what you're willing to pay for it. And that's a lesson that Wargaming understands very well, right? Pointy, you might not feel that the Missouri is worth $250, but there's other people who do. So you're not their target, essentially, right? So, like, I told people with these random bundles, you have to come up in your mind with a dollar value. It's like you're going in to negotiate for a car or a house or any other big purchase. In your mind, you need to set up a budget and you have to stick to that budget. That's sticking to it is the hardest part, right? But you have to have an idea in your mind of how much you're willing to spend. And to you, that's how much the ship is worth at the most. So if the Johann de Witt is worth 70,000 doubloons, or 72,000 is the max, right? If you're willing to go all in your mind, you have to tell yourself that it is worth all of this money. If it's not, then you have no business clicking through altogether. The problem is that there's the psychology that comes to play that says, I've already sunk this much money into it. What's a little bit more, right? So,
which is kind of the point of setting it up that way, really.
Yes. Yes, it is. So I always tell my viewers and anybody who listens, if you're not willing to get to the end, or you're going to feel upset with yourself, sick. I mean, I felt sick and I had 1 million doubloons, like literally on my account. I didn't care, 70,000, whatever. I'll do it for the community and I'll talk about my process. I was sick after spending that many doubloons. I was upset after, you know what I mean? And I mean, I didn't spend real money on it. So, like, I think it all comes down to, if you're not happy with the ship, then don't buy it. If you're not happy with the loot box program, don't buy a loot box. If you're not happy with the random bundles, don't buy a random bundle. Plain and simple. Don't just do 10 and see where you're at. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
It's not worth the frustration, aggravation, and time. Especially, like you said, tech tree lines are free lines. And I would argue you are missing, as a player, on so much content and joy of grinding up ship lines by doing this. I have the Johann de Whaleboat now. I blew all those damn doubloons. I was so pissed about doing it, like I said. But what makes me most sad is I have no reason now to play the tier 6, the tier 7, or the tier 8. And when the whole line comes out, I've got enough XP accrued. I'll just go ahead and buy the golden line, and I don't know if I'll even bother playing it. What's the point? I have no attachment to this line whatsoever. That's sad. That's really sad.
It is.
And I mean also you didn't like learn a new line, like a new features, right? If there is a line that actually plays differently, you don't just learn it by going up the tiers. You're basically just jumping straight at the top and testing it out there.
As a counterpoint, I mean, I want to injecting a semi-positive note here. You compare what they're doing with the loot boxes with new lines in the Missouri with dockyard events, where I mean, some people are still whaling. I've seen Desevan Provinciens sailing around where people have just clicked and bought through every single stage.
I need to hide.
Not that I'm naming no names, but even though there is some base level of buy-in price of what is it, like just under 4,000 doubloons, you then have that kind of modular option, and it kind of goes back to what you're saying of what is this worth to you, both in terms of time and money, and you actually can look at the timeline and how many stages there are to do and go, okay, I'm willing to spend X thousand doubloons on this and X number of hours, and you can kind of decide yourself. I feel that's a much fairer way of doing things.
So I'm going to say something that will probably piss off a lot of people. I actually loved the Puerto Rico event. Not the way it was executed. I loved the concept behind it. The idea that you can choose how much time you're willing to put in, because time's a resource, right? Time and effort is a resource in this game. So you can decide how much time you'd be willing to put into it and how much gold or premium currency you're willing to put into it too via the booster packs. The area that the Puerto Rico event failed is in educating the players how this all works, to the point where most players saw the complete sticker shock and said, no way in hell am I, buying 3 boosters and then, spending to finish, the ship and all that kind of stuff. The reality is you didn't need to buy 3 boosters. If you're the kind of player that plays once a day, every week, 3 boosters almost guarantees you got the Puerto Rico, right? Most players fall between the 1 or 2 booster pack. But the problem is that they didn't understand that, because Wargaming didn't even give them the information to make that understanding. And when they did, it came in the form of a spreadsheet.
Yeah, that was yet another big communications failure. They really, I mean, I don't like how the grind was pitched far too hard for me, especially the later events. It was basically there were certain dedicated individuals who did grind out the whole thing for 3, but it took everything, to reference that meme. And it wasn't particularly respectful of players' time. It was a bit too much on the side of let's make it so grindy that people have to pay. And I think I can't remember, it was the event afterwards where they transitioned to, okay, you have to pay, X number of doubloons.
Yes.
Just and to my mind, that was actually better, because that's being about, this is a money-making exercise, and you can still get
it's more honest.
A premium for a certain amount. But the whole thing just felt much more upfront and honest.
Yeah, well, they all started
how it was structured, and the grind was a bit less bad. It's been a bit less bad for most of these events.
Yeah, I mean, they also started with a tier 10. Come on, guys. That was the other thing we all told them, right? Why don't you start with a tier 8 and see how it goes, instead of starting with the most valuable type of ship, or most expensive in the game, and then, was that the first tier 10 premium ship? I can't remember anymore. But you know what I mean? It's just...
Might have been the first one you could buy with doubloons. Yeah, I think the ARP Yamato came later.
Right, and that's just a clone. This is a real. So I mean, but most people didn't just straight out buy it for doubloons. But still, I mean that. Like I said, I like the fact I was engaged as a player when the spreadsheets came out, because I wanted to know. And I literally went and I made my own copies, and I shared that, and people went and looked at it. But I was able to track my own progress and take a look. am I on the right track? If not, I need to buy that second booster, right? But if I am on the right track, okay, I'm good. And so I was able to kind of set milestones and goals for myself. And if it wasn't for the fact that I was visiting family, because of course they did this on a holiday, that was the other big problem, right? But
let's not forget the debacle of we want to give something for disabled gamers to do, and their sad, lonely, pathetic, meaningless, empty lives.
It was a bit of a disgusting statement from
bad take. That was such a bad take.
Like I said, to me, the concept behind it I thought was great. The execution was just so terrible, so terrible. But I really did want to pay the iron price for the Puerto Rico. I'm really sad I wasn't able to do so, because I think it would have been fun to at least put that in front of me as a challenge. Can I do that? So, take it as you want.
I mean, I'm not like the dockyard concept as itself is not necessarily a bad concept. I feel like the chance that, now that you have to spend the balloons to get the ship in the end is a bit of a disaster, but at least you get still a discount, right? And it's like you play the game, and the more that you play, the cheaper the ship becomes, and then you can decide if you want it or not. And the option of basically getting a discounted premium by playing the game quite a bit is not something I disagree with. And they have to monetize. As far as monetization goes, I think this is not the worst kind. And it's something that actually engages you in playing the game, right? And it's something that I could have done with the Missouri, right? It would have been a decent way, I think, to sell the Missouri. They would still have had people who just outright whale it, but other people could have had a discounted Missouri for hopefully a reasonable price in the end, if they just played the game enough. And that would have been a decent event for the summer, right? That could have been something.
Yeah. Well, certainly better than the shit show we have had.
Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, the reason that I went and I bought all of the stages in the Day 7 Provincial, and I've done this with previous dockyards too, is because you get the steel, or in previous cases, sometimes I think research points as well, for duplicate. And for me, I look at steel and research points as time, because that's the only way that you can get those is through working through time, right? You reset a line, or you play a competitive mode like ranked or clan battles to get the steel. So I look at it as I'm willing to throw down for Day 7 so that I accrue the steel, so that I don't have to put that time in later. I'm making an investment, so to speak, in time by doing this, right? And then I'm not so focused on ranked. And more importantly, I'm not so focused on clan battles. And I apologize if any of my clan mates are here and listening to me saying this right now. But it's tough scheduling clan battles. There's always strain at the house because, 4 hours of time, even if I bring it down to 2 hours, I'm always late. I miss the first little bit, and then I'm stuck on the sidelines waiting. Maybe someone will need to leave and I can play. Right. So there's a lot of time and a lot of stress that gets put into doing that, when quite frankly, buying 250 steel essentially per directive isn't so bad. It's also the reason why I do my dailies every day, because for 40 steel plus 10% with the clan base, 44 steel a day adds up pretty damn fast. So that's one less ranked battle I have to play. That's, one less clan battle I have to play. Hey, cool. What if?
On the one hand, like a grindable resource is obviously a decent way to obtain things, because you want people to have goals to work towards. The problem is that I just absolutely despise the research bureau. I feel like, resetting lines is just something that I don't want to do, because it's not something I feel like giving up progress that I've already made is alien to me, right? It's like when I finally earn something, it feels like throwing everything you achieved away just to do the same thing again. And it's not like there is any line that has all the ships that you want to play. There's a line where maybe there's 1 or 2 ships in it that I would enjoy playing. And now I have to go through all of the stuff that I already put behind me again. Just why, right? It's why I hated them moving the legendary upgrades away from the from the earlier way to get them, because it's such a great concept. If I like playing my Shimakaze, then eventually I'll get the Shimakaze upgrade. Shimakaze is not the best example, because the upgrade sucks, but still, it's like if I want to get a special upgrade for a ship, that means I have played this ship a lot. It means I really like this ship, and it means the grind is pleasurable, right? The biggest thing about grinding is you need to find a way that people at least get some enjoyment out of it. Part of it is always the motivation to get the end reward, but if you don't enjoy the grinding process, you aren't gonna stick with it for long, or you aren't going to be very happy. And now there is a system in place where one ship that I can absolutely not play in getting a Shima Legendary upgrade is the Shima Kaza, because it's a tier 10, so there is no way it's gonna really get me like the research points, right? It's just such an idiotic move, I think.
Well, I mean, I think the whole shift and putting it in the research, all those in the research bureau, was just to add something to the research bureau and make it seem a bit beefier, I guess.
Yeah, but I feel like it lacks thought.
3 XP somehow.
Because they've taken away something that would have been an grind that might be something enjoyable. You had a reason to actually play the ship that you like. And now they've made it into something that just sucks.
Yeah, but you can't really monetize people just playing the ship, though. I mean, Research Bureau, on the other hand, people converting free XP to re-unlock the lines.
Unfortunately, that's true, but what wargaming is, I think, often forgetting is that part of making a game, or part of making a successful game, is not just selling. You need people to play your game first, right? And then you ask yourselves, what do I sell those people? But first, you need the people to actually play your game. You need a large player base so that everyone, the whales, have somebody to play with, that that the servers are populated. And happier people are more likely gonna spend money, right? If you really like a game, you probably have played other games in the past where you are like, I really like this game, I have no problem paying $10 for a head for my character, not because it's worth it, but because I support them, and it's just you don't mind spending money even on silly things, on things that you don't need, because you're like, okay, this is my version of saying thank you for making a great game.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of what's been going on. That's kind of boiled down to is people wanting wargaming to find that balance between making money, but also doing it in a way that feels fair to the players, to the customers. And I think they've kind of become imbalanced in that regard, and they've moved away from, well, we'll get people to play the game because they enjoy playing the game, to figuring out pretty much just how can we sell stuff on the back of whatever we're already doing, like making new ship lines or whatever. I mean, a good example that's been pointed out to me is, when's the last time we had a new map in the game, for example?
Yeah, maps is tough because with adding subs, now you've got the underwater stuff. So, yeah, I think they kind of shot themselves a little bit there, right? Like, it would have been nice if they could have, started adding new maps with underwater automatically in there, and then gone back and start redoing the old ones. But maybe that was the plan. I don't know. But regardless, this is what we're with right now. And yeah, for most players, it's kind of like, okay, when is this game changing?
I mean, as a company, you can also balance things a bit, right? It's not like you need to say, okay, every available person needs to remake all the old maps. So you could be like, okay, we spend a few months remaking old maps, and then we spend a month or two making a new map, and then we spend some time remaking the old maps. You can do this as a gradual process, and you can still provide new content. It's not like you need, okay, so everybody just drop everything they are doing. We'll stop working on the game or improving anything because we need to now make this new thing. It really feels like they just wanted to rush out subs for some reason. And once again, they are now coming in a state that doesn't make sense. The anti-submarine warfare on a lot of ships doesn't make sense. A lot of ships that don't have them, that would probably need them. It feels like it's just a lot of chaos, not thought out, not properly tested, just slapped together in front of a live server because somebody said hey, if we had subs in the game, we could sell subs.
Just kind of almost feels like sunk cost fallacy, which kind of feels like I'm trying to make a pun there when it comes to submarines.
I know. I was thinking that
On
too.
Wargaming's part, but they've decided that they've put this time and effort in, and they're going to put subs in the game. God damn it! Even if they have to go 30 knots, they'll have to go like nuclear submarine speeds, which obviously is totally historically accurate to
How
World
about
War
the
II.
how about the
They're
American
basically a
torpedoes?
parody of submarines. They're nothing like a lot of what we have in the game is at least. Sometimes not, but a lot of it is kind of historically informed in some fashion. And what we have in submarines is just. It's not even like. It's kind of like. What was that? It was like a console game. It was like Battle Stations Pacific or something like that, where you could build massively stupid 40-knot ships that had 50 million 5-inch guns on the. Yeah, it's
Oh,
that level of arcadeness.
you're thinking of Warship Gunner, the Warship Gunner series from
Maybe,
PlayStation
yes.
2.
Yes.
Yeah, Battle Station specific, you couldn't build your own ships, but you could mod them. And
Okay.
if you want to see something funny, look up on YouTube Battle Station specific B-52. Yes, somebody literally modded a B-52 in the game.
I'm actually going to look that up just now, just so I can remember to look at it after the stream.
It's hilarious. But you're right. What the game we're talking about is probably Warship Gunner 2, because I played the hell out of that game too.
Okay.
And yes, it's fun to feel like I'm making a super powerful ship and I get to go and ping ping kill everything that's on the map. And I did this, but of course it's definitely not simulation by any means.
Not even a little bit. That's the weird part to me as well as that subs are like sub games are already quite well catered to. I don't know if there's been any super recently, but like maybe Cold Waters is the most recent big subtitle. I think U-Boat is still being developed as well, although that's more of a crew management game than anything else. But it just doesn't really fit into the arcade style that we have with World of Warships. And they've been trying to make it fit, and the end result is kind of ridiculous, frankly. And
Oh
who
yeah.
knows how much more ridiculous it's going to get yet.
I mean, I just all right. If there's anybody here that's a modder, and listening, I would love to have a mod for the what are those called? I can't remember what they're called. The plane based depth charge launchers that the battleships have. Like the scout planes that drop the depth
Mhm.
charges. That icon looks like a can that's got wings on it. I mean, it just there are so many things that modders can do with that. I'll just leave it to their imagination. But I mean, right? You could put anything in there with wings on it. Anything.
I'm sure we're all totally having completely innocent thoughts as to what the anything could be.
Definitely,
Of course.
definitely.
We're all innocent here.
We're all innocent and family friendly.
Definitely.
Peggy 7? Anyway.
Oh, also, hey, Grumpy Beard. Grumpy Beard's watching.
Yeah. Good evening.
Let's see you, dude.
So I'm
So,
really curious to see how the larger community will react with submarines, especially if so many people are going to find out that their ship can't actually do anything against them. And then the people
no
that
consistency to that particularly, yeah.
Yeah, it seems
don't have.
absolutely random who has anti-submarine weapons or not.
I just hope Wargaming is prepared for the possibility of admitting defeat, failure, and saying, "Nope, this is a bad idea. We tried it, and it's not working." If they aren't,
it would be the grown-up thing to do.
Oh yeah,
yeah, definitely. It's very mature. Yes, but I mean, like, ultimately, if it fails, well, I mean, it fails. I mean, at least they tried. But if they're going to shove it and keep shoving it, I mean, guys, the only way that they're going to know is reduced revenue and reduced players coming to the game. It's the only way they're going to know.
They could still shove it into its own game mode, a game mode designed for it, because there would be such potential. I mean, we've mentioned that in the past, but the thing is, if you want interesting submarine gameplay, it has to be focused around submarine gameplay and something that submarines may be actually good at, maybe like the convoy game mode that they want to test, right? Why isn't it a destroyer escorting like a destroyer escort for convoys versus submarines that need to sink the convoys, and then you have a bit of a cat and mouse hunting game and so on, and you could make very interesting gameplay with that. And they'd already have the subs in there, but it's just like subs don't really fit into a random battle. They don't really fit into the general ship-to-ship combat, right? And Wargaming still seems to have absolutely no idea how to fit them in. So
we'll see. We'll see what
Yep.
comes of it.
Yep. At the end of the day, it's I mean, whatever. I don't know.
we tried to warn them, and
Yeah.
I've actually just thought of the thing. One thing we could have mentioned earlier with the Missouri is that there is also the ongoing issue of it not actually appearing to make the credits that they promised it would for existing owners, but that's kind of still under investigation.
I mean, we forget about that. Yeah.
The thing is, that was even like the last straw for Little White Mouse.
That's one of the reasons why Little White Mouse quit, was because she had asked prior to the patch a really super specific question: in this exact scenario, with these flags, with these multipliers, is it going to earn the same amount post patch? And the assurance was given that yes, it was fine. The way they were going to do it would make sure that existing owners earned the same. Doesn't appear to be true, but Wargaming have said that they are monitoring the situation with profitability and will adjust as needed. So again, miscommunication, yay! That one might actually get fixed.
I mean,
but the fact that it's happened at all, and the fact that Little White Mouse was so specific, and that they still basically either didn't give enough of a damn to read the question correctly or pass it, or if they were just like yeah it's fine, whatever, we're not going to read all that, it's so many words, we're not going to read that, let's just say yes and then she'll stop bothering us. But either that or they thought they had it right and then they didn't because they didn't do enough testing, or I don't even know, but I can see why she was annoyed.
I mean, the biggest insult was that Little White Mouse, obviously not trusting Wargaming anymore at this time, went to very specific questions with very specific examples and got assurances that in this case the Missouri would earn at least as much as it did before or more. And she had it basically black and white, she had their answer. And then it came out and it was not the case. So basically they lied. So then she confronted them and be like, okay, I was promised this, or the community was promised this, and now it's not the case. And the first answer she basically got was, well, you must be wrong, or you are misunderstanding things, or you're misinterpreting things. She had literally the evidence there. It was black and white. It was undisputable. They were promised one thing, they didn't deliver on it. And when confronted with it, the answer was, well, maybe you're basically just too stupid to understand it. I mean, not in that words, but it was basically the message that Wargaming sent is, it's basically you are just too stupid to understand, right? And that's the level of disrespect that can't just be tolerated, right? After they have continued to miscommunicate, after they've treated Mouse like for over a year, like with the Yukon thing, and then the blatant disrespect of basically not even looking at the evidence that's right in front of them, basically was shoved into their eyes, and they don't even look at it, but like, oh, I just assume you're wrong because we are Wargaming and we are right. And this is what kicked like the whole shitstorm here off.
Right. I mean, they've got their source of evidence and what was in front of them at that time was not the source of evidence they wanted to use. And I think that was
Yeah.
100% definitely going to be the problem. I mean, Mouse went through, a lot of work. And most people know by now, but I'm sure there are some who don't. But, Mouse is, I mean, she would take so much time and do so many detailed tests of so many things. She used to love ship twirling to make sure that the turning radiuses worked
Yeah.
as they were described, and we found a lot that didn't as a result, or she did, I should say, and then put that out there, and hey, that got fixed. She tested dispersion of shells and torpedoes and all that kind of stuff, and this is stuff that, guys, it takes hours to complete using very specific scripted regimented data that's done in training room with a core group of volunteers. It's not just her, of course, doing this, but she's tabulating all this information and putting it out there in a way that's easy to read and understand. That's what wargaming ultimately lost here, was somebody that was willing to go to that level of depth. And it's not to call them on their BS. Okay, at least not originally. I'm not speaking for her motives necessarily here, but I always felt that she was trying to help the game. She was trying to help
100%.
the community with everything that she was trying to do. And unfortunately, like you guys said, she was mistreated and basically said, your help doesn't matter.
I think that's probably the thing that's like you hear her name being brought up a lot, and I think that's because people are genuinely galled that wargaming didn't seem to appreciate just what a gem they had, just how positive she was for the community overall. And as an ambassador to the game, of somebody who produces these well-written, well thought out, very well researched guides to ships, you couldn't really ask for anyone better. And they were just so, I don't know, they were just so casual about the whole thing, like, little white who. Yeah.
I mean, and I have a personal connection with her, and I reached out to her when all this stuff was going down, and I said, I'm so sorry you're going through this, and I stand behind whatever you need. But like, I've known her since season 2 of Ranked Battles, the original Ranked Battles. I was literally thinking of quitting the game, which is probably a gasp moment for a lot of people, because you guys know how much I love this game and how much I play it. But I was at my wit's end because I couldn't rank out. I couldn't make anything work. And I reached out to her at a point of frustration, and I said, what am I supposed to do here? I'm thinking about leaving. And her post was like just a ray of sunshine, just parting the clouds, coming out, and the storm's over. And like, when it emboldened me to play better, to be a better player, in terms of how I treat others in game and all that good stuff. And I ranked out that season, and I owe a lot of that to her. And I remained as a player. She was a big part of that. Nico Power as a community manager was the other big part of that. But that's a story I haven't
had a bad word to say about Nico at all.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a story that not many people know about. So, shh.
Yeah, there's a reason why everyone has been in her defense, basically. She's kind of earned our respect at this point. Yeah.
And her loss is a real blow to everybody. But most importantly, I hope she's okay. I hope that she feels loved, and I'm sure she knows she's loved. And if she stays with wargaming in terms of producing content, I wish her all the best. I really do.
Well, I don't know why I'm nodding. No one can see it right now, but yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, I agree. I think
stroke my cat in agreement.
She's definitely, I think, happier now that she's put that behind it, and we will see what she does in the future. I mean, she still likes the game, so she might still be sticking around and creating content for it. We'll all hope so, because she's...
I wouldn't blame her if she wanted to take a break for a bit.
Oh, definitely.
I definitely wouldn't blame her for that.
Well, she was burning out for a while, and there were times where she'd say, "I'm taking a break," and then
Mm.
the next day, "Here, I've just threw 5 hours in this game. Here's some statistics and data," and I'm just like, "Go take a break."
She does
So
strike me as the kind of person that once she gets really into something, you'd have to literally duct tape her to a chair to get her to try and relax and take a break from it.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, that's almost been one of the most disappointing parts of this whole saga. And I'm sure. I mean, I know for myself, but for certainly a few of the others, the former CCs, that
Mhm.
the whole debacle with the Yukon was definitely a big cause of dissatisfaction with the company, and even with people who've stayed. I'm sure, like yourself.
yeah. It's been tough, and for me, I think the hardest part is I'm seeing a lot of people that I consider friends, that I've enjoyed hanging out with on the on the Discord, and seeing what they post and communicating with them, and it's coming at the timing sucks. Timing is never good, but it
Yeah.
to me it sucks in particular. We just finished Team League season 2, where we had a lot of popular streamers, many of which are now ex-CCs. They were all on here. We were all having a good time, hanging out, joking, promoting each other's channels and all that kind of stuff. And it was such a fun, positive, life-giving event. And that was 2 weeks ago, right? And now you get into, and then last week we had the Verizon Warriors tournament too, which was also very nice and life-giving. And it was for veterans, and I mean that was like just when you're asked if you're
Mhm.
willing to volunteer some time for something, and you look at this and you're like, this is a cause I can get behind, right? You feel good. You feel so good doing it, right?
Mhm.
And that now this is happening where you're losing a lot of those people that you've built these close relationships with. Are they gone for all time? No, of course not. They're going to stream. They're going to be available on Discord. Just they're not going to be in that Discord anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So to go find them now, I've got to go and scroll down to my folder on my Discord here, where I've got all people's individual Discords. Yours is going to go
Mhm.
there too, Adam. And now I have to actively go and search and find it. Oh my god! But I mean, like, to me, this is happening at the same time that work is starting up, and it's something that I've been personally regretting for some time. So, like, to me, the CC program, streaming right now, doing this interview with you
Mhm.
guys, and then doing my stream whenever this is done, and moving on, like, this is my relaxation. This is what I do for fun and to calm down and to take my mind off of my real job.
And
The
here's all
things
this
that.
drama instead.
And now
Oh
I'm
yeah.
I'm waking up, and so and so's left, and so and so's left, right? I woke up this morning, YouTube posted your stuff, and I I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've gone on each person who I've got a relationship with. I've gone and I posted on their
Mhm.
Twitter a personal best of luck, goodbye, right? Because it really does matter to me, and it's really hard to see this broken up in such a fashion. I really, to me it's very frustrating, to say the least. And it's happening it all started on a Friday, and so, you know
Friday the
I don't think it's
13th even.
yeah. Well, I don't think it's fair necessarily or appropriate to expect a official response from Wargaming over the course of weekend. Although, come on, let's be real. They're communicating like crazy over this weekend. I'm sure they are.
Oh
Certain
yeah.
people, right? Trying to figure out what are we going to say Monday? What are we going to do Monday, right? But like all of this is happening right now so quick, and it's extremely difficult. For the first time in a long time, I struggled. Do I want to stream today? Do I
Mhm.
want to come on your podcast? And guys, that those of you that are watching and listening, I need you to recognize something here. We arranged for this podcast before all this crazy extra
Mhm.
drama
Oh, yeah.
started. And Jedi, I need to thank you seriously. Jedi reached out to me and said, if you want to reschedule, wait a week or two. Try to let things die down a little bit. Let's do it. That's fine. But like, you know, I want to do this. I wanted to come on here and talk and be open about myself and, and interact and stuff and go on my stream because tomorrow is the first day of school. And I'm very nervous and very scared about that. So this is my safe place. This is my area I can relax and chill. And it's just been really hard, everything that's going on top of it,
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, like every single CC has basically started out as somebody who loved the game
Yeah.
and, plays it because they want to play it. And it's difficult sometimes when you become this kind of, you get into this kind of side of things, and
Mhm.
it's no longer just playing the game and enjoying the game. That suddenly becomes a lot of extra stuff along with it, sadly. So
It's sad if you
always,
like still enjoy the game and all you wanted to do
yeah.
was actually like play and have a good time. But it's
Right.
like it's you can't like the wargaming has created so much toxicity kind of recently within the last week that it's just you can't just like ignore that anymore. So you have
Well, I
to
mean,
like
for me,
make
it's
the
been a long.
statements about it. You have to like talk about it.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, I really, really hope that this is all like it. It may be at absolute worst, just completely symbolic gestures that don't really amount to anything much in terms of practical whatever. But if wargaming at least goes, maybe we do need to rethink certain things and not just try and mollify the community, but actually make some necessary changes. That would be a positive thing, and
Mhm.
all this nonsense would have been worth something. And if not, well, I've put some distance between myself and them anyway, so
Yeah.
But I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't keep going downhill from my point of view. I hope it still keeps going for many years to come, because there aren't many multiplayer games I enjoy. World of Warships is pretty much the only one that I play with any regularity, and it's just there's not really much else out there that's like it.
Yeah,
Do you
there
guys
is
remember?
definitely lack of competition. Sorry.
Do you guys remember the reshade incident?
Vaguely,
So
when people
one
getting
of
banned for
yeah,
using shaders.
one of the things that I did for the community before I was a CC, mind you, was I was a wiki editor. And so I was the one that was taking the screenshots in game and
Mhm.
putting them up on the wiki of ships that were coming out, ships that were existence, already in the game. And I saw a thread on the forums about making your screenshots look better. And it's a program called Reshade. And what it does is it basically kind of injects itself into the executable that you're using, and then when you hit that print screen button, it applies a series of filters that make it pop. If you guys want to see what I'm talking about, you can go to the wiki page and look up, I believe it's the Giulio Cesare, because I used Reshade for those particular screenshots. You can see what it does. The problem is that Reshade was a false positive when Wargaming did their anti-cheat detection, basically checking to see if the executables were being messed with, because that's how, aim bots and all that kind of stuff happens. And so what Wargaming did was they chose to just blanket ban players for a week. who had been doing that. And at the same time that happened, we had the San Francisco Fleet Week event going on, which had a 200% bonus for first win. Now, people that know me know that I love bonuses, and I will whore myself out to get as many of those bonuses as possible, as on as many ships as possible, because that is when you want to play the game, right? Because one battle, one win equals 3 or 4 because of that bonus, right? When you stack everything on top. So I go to log in after a long day of work, and it says I'm banned on Monday. And I go on the forums, I'm like, what the hell's going on? All these other people are saying that they're banned. Nobody really knows why. We thought it was the reshade. We did the support ticket and all that kind of stuff. And I was banned for 3 days. They lifted the ban after the third, when they finally realized that, they had made a mistake and there was a whole bunch of false positives. You guys don't remember it too much because EU didn't actually go through with the bans. NA was the first to go through with the bans. And then when all the craziness happened, I believe all the other community managers kind of said, well, let's just hold off on this and see where it goes. But boy, was that like, I sat on the couch staring at the login screen for about 20 minutes and thinking to myself, what am I going to do now? Like, I literally had no idea what I was going to do for the rest of that night. My wife is sitting right next to me, like, you could spend time with me. I'm like, no. I need to play a game.
But she forgave you somehow.
Well, so it's my time. We agree. We've got.
I know. I just really.
But like, it's just, oh my God. And that speaks to what you were talking about, right? This is your game. This is our game. This is something that we love. And to just walk away or to imagine it not being in existence is really hard,
Yeah, I think if people can take any one thing away from what's been happening, is that it's that people do care about the game, and they wouldn't get quite so worked up if they just didn't care.
You wouldn't be here, I wouldn't be here, but Ada wouldn't be here, right? Like,
yeah,
we're here because we love the game. We're here because it matters to us. We're here because we want to help make it better.
Pretty much. Well, I don't know about you, but that would be a really good note to end the
sorry
podcast on. No, that's just that would be a really positive place to end it, I think. And unless we have anything else we pressingly want to talk about.
No, I mean, I guess we've covered the recent events pretty well.
Yeah.
And shared our opinions.
Yeah,
I mean, got to let Zath get ready for his.
I'm already ready. I tweeted out that I'm doing this with you guys, and then I'll just go into mine and.
Okay. And we'll just trade you and send the people over.
Yeah, we know who to host after that.
Yes.
Makes it easy for us.
Whoever you guys, it doesn't really matter, guys. I mean, I'm doing it, like I said, I'm doing it because I have to get my mind off of the week coming up, and and quite frankly, my viewers, they want to talk, and I want to talk with them. I don't want to just hide and say I'm busy or not feeling it.
I think most people's communities have been pretty amazing overall. Like, that's one thing I noticed, is that the majority of content creators have managed to cultivate pretty positive communities in World of Warships. It's something that's quite nice to see.
It meant so much to me. Yesterday, the day before, I had 2 people just message me, checking in. I hope you're okay. Like, if you want to talk or whatever, and know that whatever you decide, we're behind you and all that. And guys, it really does matter. And it matters for you 2 who are leaving. It matters for me, who's for now at least choosing to stay. Like, it really does matter to hear from our community that we're important, that we do something that matters to you, the viewer. So if you haven't sent a message like that to, your favorite streamers or something, then take a moment and do it. If I think that's worth more than a sub. That's worth more than a bunch of bits. That's worth more than anything else, because it tells you that you are important and that what you do is important, what you do matters, and that ultimately, you're wanted and needed. And that's an important feeling I think a lot of people have right now, especially Little White Mouse. But I think a lot of us are going through this too.
Definitely.
Oh yeah. Well said.
So,
And on
is
that
there-
note, I guess
Yeah, I
we'll
was gonna say-
end it.
is there anywhere else than your Twitch that we can find you, Zath? Like, say YouTube, for example?
Oh yeah. So I'm on youtube.com/Lord_Zath. I have a Twitter account. It's just @LordZath with no underscore, because Twitter doesn't allow underscores, I think, or something like that. I'm on the NA forums, which I'm just looking at my thread that I posted about being on this. All right. So like I'm in places, and I also play the game, so you'll probably see me, although in co-op a lot. Oh, look, I'm syncing right now. But but yeah, I'm around. So
Okay. Then thanks everyone for watching. We'll try to raid LordZath now, although I'm not sure if you need to be online for a raid to work. See.
well, I'll go ahead, and if you guys want, I'll start up.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Okay. All right. So let me go ahead. I'm gonna start the stream now. It might take a few seconds to get going, but then we'll hit it. Thanks, guys. And hey, thank you again for the invite. I mean,
Thanks
I
for
was
stopping
hoping
by.
that, I was hoping all this stuff wasn't gonna happen. Of course, nobody wants all this.
Oh yeah.
But it did, and I mean, I really am glad that I was able to come and hang out with you guys. And your community, by the way, guys. I've been watching chat. You guys have been so nice. So thank you. Like, seriously, you guys are saying really nice things, and it really does matter. So thanks.
No, we were glad to have you.
Definitely.
Mute my stream. What? Oh, maybe. Okay. Yeah. I think I fixed it. I don't know.
Yeah, and we'll just get the raid off now, and
Cool.
that's it. See you guys next time. Also.